9-year-old Lily gripped her late mother's locket, watching her father about to marry a woman who wanted to kill him. The wedding hall in the Grand Hotel overlooking the Singapore harbor was breathtaking. Orchids, sparkling lights, happy guests. But Lily's heart was pounding. She had discovered Isabella's terrible secret, and this was her last chance to save her father. The celebrant smiled. "If anyone has a reason why these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace." Lily stood up, her small voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "Stop, Papa. Please don't marry her. She wants to kill you." The room exploded in gasps. Isabella's sweet smile vanished, showing the evil underneath. But Lily didn't care. She had to save the only parent she had left. Hello everyone. Welcome to our story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. As a 9-year-old girl without her mother, Lily had learned to be stronger than most kids her age. She had been only 8 when her mother, Elara, died in a car accident, leaving her to help her broken father, Mr. Chen, put their lives back together. The grief was scary, but Lily knew her papa needed her. She learned to make her own breakfast when he forgot to eat. She reminded him about parent-teacher meetings and helped him figure out how to tie her hair for school. She'd seen it in his eyes, the way he still looked at Mama's empty chair at dinner, the quiet moments when he thought she wasn't watching and tears would roll down his face. Lily was brave, just like her mother had taught her to be. But as the months passed, Lily began to notice something that worried her. Papa was so lonely and sad that sometimes he forgot she was there. He would stare out at the city lights for hours. Lily felt like she was taking care of a grown-up. She remembered her mother's last words about taking care of him, and she tried her best every single day. That's why when her father met Isabella at a charity gala, Lily wanted to be happy for him. Isabella was elegant and made Papa laugh again. For the first time in a year, he started playing his guitar and planning weekend trips to the botanical gardens. But from the very beginning, Lily felt something cold and wrong about Isabella. Her smiles looked fake. When Papa wasn't watching, Isabella's eyes would turn hard. Lily tried to tell herself she was just jealous, but deep down, she remembered her mother's last words, "Trust your instincts, my love. If something feels wrong, pay attention." And everything about Isabella felt very, very wrong. Within 6 months, Mr. Chen proposed to Isabella in their high-rise apartment. Lily watched from the hallway as Isabella said yes with fake excitement. But when Isabella thought no one was looking, Lily saw her real face, cold and calculating. That's when Lily knew she had to protect her father. The morning after the proposal, Lily woke to the smell of congee. She hurried to the kitchen and found Isabella at the stove. "Good morning, sweetie," Isabella sang, her voice too cheerful. "I thought I'd make us a special breakfast to celebrate." Papa sat at the table with the biggest smile Lily had seen since before her mother died. "Isn't Isabella wonderful?" But something about seeing Isabella using her mother's favorite bowl made Lily's stomach feel tight. Later that day, while her father was at his architecture firm, Lily heard Isabella on the phone. "Yes, everything is going exactly as planned. The wedding is in 3 weeks. After that, it should only take a few days. Don't worry about the kid. Mr. Chen trusts me completely. Once I'm his wife, the insurance money will be easy to get, and this apartment is worth a fortune." Lily's hand started to shake. Insurance money? She ran to her room, her mind racing. That evening, when her father gave Isabella a pair of expensive jade earrings, Lily noticed Isabella looked at them like she was calculating their worth. That night, Lily tried to talk to her father. "Papa, do you really know Isabella very well?" He just smiled. "She makes me feel alive again, Lily. For the first time since Mama died, I feel happy." Lily wanted to tell him about the phone call, but she didn't know how. She touched her mother's locket and whispered, "Mama, I think Papa's in trouble." The next few days felt like a bad dream. Isabella was always there, moving her mother's things and making everything feel cold. Desperate for proof, Lily looked in Isabella's purse when she had the chance and found a small notebook. One name jumped out, Marcus Lee, followed by a phone number and the words, Harbor Plan. Later, she listened as Isabella spoke on the phone again. The wedding is in 13 days. I'll put it in his tea on our second morning at the resort in Sentosa. The poison has to look like a natural heart attack. After Mr. Chen dies, I'll send the kid away. We'll be on our way to Thailand with all his money. Poison. Lily had to cover her mouth to keep from screaming. She immediately called the one person she knew would believe her, Uncle Raj, her father's best friend since university. Uncle Raj listened carefully. This is very serious, little sparrow. We need proof. He advised her to be careful and to record Isabella if she could. Lily, with a courage she didn't know she had, managed to record Isabella on the balcony, detailing the entire plan with Marcus to poison her father on their honeymoon and flee with his money. The day before the wedding, Uncle Raj took Lily to see Inspector Saito. The inspector was kind but explained that a recording alone might not be enough for an arrest before the wedding. They would need more evidence. Lily's heart sank. The police wouldn't stop the wedding in time. On the day of the wedding, as Isabella walked down the aisle in her stunning gown, Lily's heart pounded. When the celebrant asked if anyone had a reason to object, the church fell silent. Lily's voice failed her for a moment. But as the celebrant began to move on, she found her strength. Wait, she cried out. Everyone turned to look. Papa, she said, her voice trembling but clear. Please don't marry her. She wants to kill you. The hall erupted in whispers. Lily, sweetheart, what's wrong? Her father asked, confused. Isabella tried to dismiss it. She's just upset about the wedding. But Lily stood her ground. I heard her. She's planning to poison your tea on your honeymoon. She wants your insurance money. She held up her phone. I have a recording. As Lily played the damning recording for the entire stunned wedding party, Isabella's composure shattered. You little brat. You've ruined everything, she screamed, her face twisted with rage, confirming every one of Lily's accusations. Inspector Saito, who had been watching from the back, stepped forward. Isabella Tan, you're under arrest. As Isabella was led away, Lily ran to her father, who held her tight. You saved my life, he whispered, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you. At the police station, they learned Isabella's real name was Jasmine Wee, and she and her accomplice Marcus were part of a ring that targeted wealthy widowers. Because of Lily's bravery, the police were able to prevent the crime and reopen investigations into past cases. Weeks later, life slowly returned to normal. Papa and Lily were a team again, stronger than ever. One afternoon, as they flew kites at Marina Barrage, Papa looked at her with tears in his eyes. I spent so much time feeling lonely that I forgot how perfect our family already was. Just you and me. We're a good team, Papa. The best team, he agreed. Lily knew that sometimes, even when you're just 9 years old, you can find the courage to be the hero your family needs. The kite, a vibrant red dragon, soared higher than any other in the sky above Marina Barrage. Lily felt a laugh bubble up from her chest, a sound of pure, unburdened joy that had been absent for too long. Her father, Mr. Chen, grinned beside her, his face finally free of the shadow that Isabella, Jasmine, had cast. See, Papa. I told you we could get it to dance. Lily said, expertly tugging the string, making the dragon loop the loop. You were right, as usual, he chuckled, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. The Singaporean sun was warm on their faces, and for the first time in over a year, the future felt bright and open, not something to be feared. The peace, however, was followed by a period of difficult headlines. The trial of Jasmine Wee and Marcus Lee was swift. Faced with Lily's recording and the evidence uncovered by Inspector Saito, they both pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and multiple counts of fraud. Jasmine was sentenced to 25 years in prison, Marcus to 30. The story of the 9-year-old who stopped a black widow made Lily and her father local celebrities for a time. They declined most interview requests, but with Inspector Sato's encouragement, they agreed to one televised segment focused on family safety and trusting your instincts. A few days after the segment aired, a letter arrived at their apartment. The handwriting on the envelope was elegant but unfamiliar. Curious, Mr. Chen opened it. As he read, his eyes softened. "Lily," he called out. "Come read this." Lily put down her book and joined him on the sofa. The letter was from an elderly woman named Mrs. Lim, who lived in Penang, Malaysia. "Dear Mr. Chen and Lily," it began. "I saw your story on the news. My son, David, died suddenly 2 years ago on his honeymoon. It was ruled a heart attack. He was only 38 and very healthy. His new wife, a woman named Sarah, was inconsolable at the time. She inherited everything and then disappeared. After seeing your report, I contacted the authorities. They showed me a photograph of the woman you knew as Isabella. It was the same woman. Her name was Sarah to us. Thank you, Lily. You have given an old woman answers, and perhaps, finally, justice for my David." Lily looked up at her father, her eyes wide. "There was another one." Mr. Chen pulled her close. "Because of you, Mrs. Lim has peace. And the police told Inspector Saito that inquiries are coming in from all over Southeast Asia. You didn't just save me, Lily. You've started a wave that is bringing closure to many families." This knowledge settled inside Lily not as a burden, but as a quiet strength. She had done the right thing. Life continued. Lily focused on school and her art, filling their apartment with drawings of the city skyline and the red kite against a blue sky. Mr. Chen threw himself into his work with a new passion, but he was always home for dinner. Their evenings were filled with shared cooking, homework, and stories about their day. One Saturday, 6 months after the almost wedding, Uncle Raj came over for dinner. As they ate satay and laksa, the conversation turned, as it often did, to the events of the past year. "You know," Uncle Raj said, pointing his satay stick at Mr. Chen, "the firm's new project, the community center. The client is very impressed with your designs. Especially the family-friendly elements. She said it shows great empathy." Mr. Chen smiled. "Well, I've had a very good teacher lately on what really matters." He winked at Lily. "Speaking of," Uncle Raj said, a mischievous glint in his eye. "The client, Ms. Anika Sharma, she asked after you specifically. Said she'd love to discuss the designs over coffee next week." Lily and her father exchanged a look. A year ago, the mere suggestion would have made Mr. Chen tense up. Now, he simply laughed. "Anika Sharma is a brilliant engineer and a very demanding client, Raj. That's all." But later, as Uncle Raj was leaving, he whispered to Lily, "Just coffee. But she's kind. And she has a daughter your age who loves to draw. Think about it." After he was gone, Mr. Chen started washing the dishes. Lily picked up a towel to dry. "Papa," she began, her voice careful. He knew exactly what she was asking. He turned off the water and faced her, his expression serious and loving. "Lily, I promise you this. There is no one in my life, and there won't be anyone, unless you feel completely comfortable. Your feelings come first. Always. We are a team. And besides," he added, smiling, "I'm in no rush. I'm quite happy with my team of 2. Lily hugged him tightly. "Me too, Papa." That night, as she got ready for bed, she looked at the drawing on her wall, the one of her and her father by the water. She picked up a new colored pencil and, in the corner, she drew a small, smiling face looking down from a cloud. Then, next to it, she drew a tiny, grateful woman waving from a house in the distance. It was Mrs. Lim. Her story was now a part of theirs, a reminder that courage ripples outward. She climbed into bed and fastened her mother's locket around her neck. It felt cool and familiar against her skin. She wasn't the scared little girl in the wedding hall anymore. She was Lily Chen, the girl who had saved her father. She was a daughter, an artist, and a friend. And as she drifted off to sleep, she knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, one brave step at a time. Their little family was not just good, it was, and always would be, unbreakable. The team of two settled into a new, peaceful rhythm. The media attention faded, replaced by the comforting predictability of school, work, and their weekend adventures. Mr. Chen did go for coffee with Ms. Anika Sharma, but he took Lily along, presenting it as a casual meeting to discuss the community center's playground designs with a young expert's opinion. Anika was indeed kind, and her daughter, Priya, was a whirlwind of creative energy who immediately bonded with Lily over a shared love of manga. It was nice, but it was just coffee. The unspoken agreement between father and daughter held strong, their world was complete as it was. A year after the events at the Grand Hotel, Lily's class was assigned a family history project. While other kids brought in photos of grandparents and stories of ancestral villages, Lily felt a familiar knot in her stomach. Her history felt fractured, defined by a before and an after. The before pictures of her mother, Elara, were almost too painful to look at, a beautiful ghost smiling beside a younger, lighter version of her father. The after was a gap, and then the shadow of Isabella. Seeing her struggle, Mr. Chen brought down a dusty box from the top of his closet. "I think it's time," he said softly. Inside were not just photographs, but treasures, her mother's university sketchbooks, love letters she and Mr. Chen had exchanged, a pressed flower from their first date. As Lily carefully sifted through the memories, she found a small, leather-bound journal tucked at the bottom. On the first page, in her mother's elegant script, was a quote, "A single act of courage creates a ripple that can touch shores we will never see." Elara Chen. Lily's breath caught in her throat. It felt like a message, sent across time. She spent the next week devouring the journal. It wasn't a diary of sadness, but a chronicle of joy, curiosity, and a deep, unwavering bravery. She read about her mother standing up to an unfair professor, quitting a stable job to pursue her passion for art, and the terrifying, exhilarating courage it took to become a mother. The night before the project was due, Lily didn't create a poster or a photo album. She took a blank sketchbook and began to draw. She drew the story of Elara's courage. She drew her father's courage in rebuilding his life. And finally, with a deep breath, she drew her own story, a small girl in a vast wedding hall, her voice a visible, powerful wave pushing back against a figure of darkness. The final panel showed that wave reaching other shores, a woman like Mrs. Lim finding peace, a family she would never know being protected. She titled it, "The Ripple." The next day at school, her hands trembled as she presented it. When she finished explaining the last drawing, her classroom was silent. Then, her teacher, Mrs. Patel, began to clap, and the whole class joined in. Afterward, a shy boy named Sam approached her. "My mom's new boyfriend, he gives me a weird feeling," he whispered. "I thought I was just being dumb." "You're not," Lily said, with a conviction that surprised her. "Tell someone you trust." The project was a turning point. Lily had finally woven the painful threads of her past into her identity, not as a scar, but as a source of strength. A few weeks later, Inspector Saito paid them a surprise visit. Over tea, her demeanor was professional but there was a light in her eyes. "The ripple effect you started, Lily, it's still moving," she said. "The information from your case was instrumental in a joint operation with Interpol. They've dismantled the entire network Jasmine we was associated with. Arrests were made in 3 countries. It's over." The finality of the word hung in the air. Over. The last lingering fear, the idea that some unseen accomplice might still be out there, evaporated. "That's wonderful news, Inspector," Mr. Chen said, letting out a breath he seemed to have been holding for a year. "Inspired by your family's story," Inspector Saito continued, "the department is launching a new community outreach program. We want to teach kids about personal safety and trusting their instincts. We were hoping Lily might help us design the logo." Lily's eyes widened. She looked at her father, who nodded, his face full of pride. "I'd like that," she said. The logo she designed was simple but powerful, a small, single circle, from which a series of concentric waves expanded outward. At the center of the circle was a tiny, unbreakable knot. Time, as it does, moved forward. Lily grew up. The little girl who stood up in the wedding hall became a teenager with a quiet confidence, then a young woman studying graphic design at university. Mr. Chen's hair gained silver streaks, but his laughter came more easily than ever. He never did remarry, but he built a rich, full life filled with deep friendships, a successful career, and immense pride in his daughter. On the day of Lily's university graduation, as they celebrated with Uncle Raj and Priya's family, Mr. Chen handed her a small, wrapped box. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was her mother's locket, which she had worn every day since she was 9. But now, it was attached to a new, delicate silver chain. "It's time for an upgrade," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Your mother would be so proud of the woman you've become. You didn't just save my life that day, Lily. You had the courage to build a beautiful one for us both." Lily fastened the new chain around her neck, the familiar weight of the locket a comforting presence over her heart. She looked around at the faces of the people she loved, her father, her chosen family. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been theirs. The ripples of their courage had calmed into a wide, deep lake of contentment. The story that began with a terrible secret in a wedding hall had ended here, in the warm sunlight, surrounded by love. It was more than a happy ending. It was a whole, beautiful life. The weight of the graduation gown felt both heavy and liberating. As Lily stood with her cohort, the Singapore sun warming her face, she didn't just feel the pride of the moment, she felt the weight of the entire journey. The locket, now on its new chain, felt like a touchstone connecting the scared 9-year-old to the confident 21-year-old she had become. Her father's eyes, glistening with unshed tears, never left her. When her name was called, Lily Alara Chen, with highest honors, the applause was loud, but his was the only clap she truly heard. It was a sound that had carried her through homework assignments, teenage heartbreaks, and the quiet anniversaries of her mother's passing. The celebration dinner was a boisterous affair at a favorite Peranakan restaurant, filled with Uncle Raj's booming laughter, Priya's hilarious impressions of their professors, and Ms. Anika Sharma, now a firm family friend, toasting to Lily's fierce and brilliant mind. Through it all, Lily felt a profound sense of completion. The circle, once broken, had been mended with gold, stronger at the seams. A few weeks later, life began its new cadence. Lily started her first real job at a small, prestigious design firm known for its work with nonprofits. Her father, semi-retired, took up painting, filling his sunlit studio with surprisingly good watercolors of the cityscape. They had settled into a new kind of team, two independent adults who still cherished their Sunday morning dim sum rituals. One evening, while sorting through a box of her old university things, Lily found the Ripple sketchbook. She smiled, tracing the lines of her childhood drawings. Beneath it was a folder of research she'd done for a final year project on the psychology of deception. As she flipped through it, an idea, dormant for years, began to stir. That night over dinner, she broached the subject. "Papa, do you ever think about all of it? Not just what happened to us, but the how. How someone can build such a convincing lie." Mr. Chen put down his chopsticks, his expression thoughtful. "Sometimes. Less now than before. It's like an old injury that only aches when the weather changes." "Why do you ask?" "I was looking at my old project. At work, We're developing an app for a women's safety charity. It made me think, what if there was a resource? Not just about safety, but about the emotional patterns. The little red flags that are so easy to explain away when you're lonely. A guide built not from fear, but from empowerment. Her father listened intently, the way he always had when her ideas were taking flight. You want to create your own ripple. I think I do, Lily said, her voice firm with resolve. Not with a big media campaign. Something quieter. A blog, maybe. A place for stories. Not just victims, but for people who felt something was wrong and walked away. For families who need to talk about these things. And so, the Courage Project was born. Lily began writing in the evenings and on weekends. She didn't use their real names, weaving their experience into a series of posts about trusting your inner child's intuition, the language of manipulation, and rebuilding trust after betrayal. She interviewed Inspector Saito, now retired, for a piece on the psychological tactics of con artists. She even convinced a hesitant Uncle Raj to contribute a piece from the friend's perspective, titled, How to Support Someone You Love Without Smothering Them. The project grew slowly, organically. Comments began to trickle in. A woman from Canada wrote that reading the blog gave her the courage to end a relationship that had felt off for years. A man from Australia shared that it helped him understand his sister's experience better. The community was small, but it was real. One rainy Tuesday evening, a year after she started the blog, Lily received a direct message. The subject line was simple, thank you. Dear Lily, if I may. I don't know if you'll remember me. My name is Sam. We were in Mrs. Patel's class together. You told me I wasn't being dumb about my mom's boyfriend. That conversation stayed with me. My mom did end that relationship, and it was messy, but she's so much happier now. I'm a social worker now, and I use your blog as a resource with some of the young people I work with. You told me to tell someone I trusted. Now I get to be that someone for others. Thank you for the ripple. With gratitude. Sam. Lily read the message 3 times, tears welling in her eyes. She showed it to her father. He read it silently, then pulled her into a tight hug. You see, he whispered. The shore the ripple touches sends a wave back. On Lily's 25th birthday, her father gave her a final, profound gift. It was a framed, blown-up photograph she had never seen before. It was of her mother, Elara, in her own graduation gown, laughing, her face turned toward the sun. Scrawled in the margin, in her mother's handwriting, was the same quote from her journal, a single act of courage creates a ripple that can touch shores we will never see. She knew, Mr. Chen said softly. Even then, she understood the kind of life she wanted to live. And you, my Lily, you have lived it. Lily hung the photograph next to her own graduation picture. The 2 women, mother and daughter, separated by time but united by spirit, smiled down at her. The story of the wedding hall was no longer a story of terror, but an origin. It was the moment Lily learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the love that is louder than fear. Her life was not defined by the evil she had confronted, but by the love she had protected and the love that had, in turn, protected and shaped her. And as she looked at the 2 smiling faces in the photographs, the locket cool against her skin, she knew the greatest truth of all, their story was never about an ending. It was about a beautiful, ongoing beginning. The ripples were still moving, and she, Lily Chen, would continue to send them out into the world, one brave word, one act